it's working.
Hi. Thank you very much for such brilliant panel discussion. My name is Andrei Buzarov. I just came from Kiev, and in a week I will go to Kiev back. Thank you, Professor Garton, for your moderation here, and I saw you during the Munich Security Conference. Thank you very much. I also want to thank you, Oxford University, the Ukrainian Society, for such kind of event, because it's a very, very important promotion of the real situation in Ukraine. I have one question to Professor Garton, because this is my fourth roundtable which I visited here in UK. I was in Coventry in London, and I was in Munich Security Conference. Unfortunately, I see that our Western allies, they try to find the solution and the answers concerning the situation in Ukraine. But I think that the solutions and the questions concerning support of Ukraine, they are in West, in our Western allies. So, in your opinion, did West or our Western allies realize that Ukraine belongs to West, is a part of geostrategic security system of West? Because what I see, I think, a very split in opinion and decision-making process between European Union, Biden administration, potential Trump administration, and other administrations. So, what is your opinion? Does Ukraine belongs to the geostrategic security system of West? Thank you.
My opinion is yes. That's easily answered. But the other part of your question is, what's the opinion of the people who are actually in power? Because let me let you into a secret, I'm not in power anywhere, except possibly in this room. And I think there is absolutely a clear acceptance in principle that long-term Ukraine should be a part of the West in the hard sense of EU and NATO. But there is significant disagreement, very significant disagreement about how we think this war could and should end in the next few years. There is very significant disagreement between different capitals and people in different capitals. And I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk about that. Would anyone else, James, would you like to comment on that?
I think it is very convenient for people to say that there is a war happening on Europe's doorstep or at Europe's borders, because if we were to say that it was inside Europe, then we'd have to do something about it. And we're clearly not. And whilst of course the scale of the Western response is unprecedented, the scale of what has happened is even more unprecedented. It's not English, but you know what I mean. But you do hear it an awful lot, and I think, unfortunately, in the popular mindset, and that's not in this room, then Ukraine is a faraway, alien place that they will never go to and never have been to, and I think that is deeply problematic, and it's a shame that after 32 years since the fall of the Soviet Union, but we still see that sort of degree of ignorance here. But anyone who's ever been there knows that it is, that Kiev is as European a capital as Lisbon, and the provinces are as European as, I don't know, southern Italy. I mean, whatever. So it is crystal clear, and I do think that a greater Western acceptance of that fundamental point that Ukraine is in Europe, it may not be in the EU yet, although we know it's having accession talks. Great. But yeah, that would go a long way. An understanding of a problem and of the geography and of the situation and the culture would go a long way.
I think quite clearly Trump doesn't think that way, for quite extraordinarily introspective reasons. He's been extraordinarily successful in prioritising his domestic strategies for November over and above foreign policy. Separate story how he's managed to do that. He controls the key parts of the Republican alternative reality machine, that's one, which is currently being fed by a kind of propaganda triangle. Russian talking points are clearly coming out of the mouths of many of these people. But equally important and less well noticed are the kind of Hungarian political strategists working with the Republicans, Fidesz political technologists, under the scary slogan, "You only have to win one election." That happened to them in 2010, could happen in America in 2024. Particularly on levelling up the kind of MAGA media, Make America Great Again media, to the kind of level that you've now got in Hungary, which is the result of a decade of state consolidation. So America in many ways is a long way behind, but they plan to catch up. So all of this is extraordinarily introspective. Trump is on record as saying he doesn't want any problems solved before November because he wants to pose as a magician who's going to solve them, and he very specifically doesn't want the money problem solved either, and that's a long time before November.
Let me add one word. We have Ivan Krastev with us here. Ivan Krastev and Mark Leonard have just produced an ECFR report on European public opinion, which is worth taking a look at because it's a very sobering picture. Only relatively small minorities in the European countries polled think the war is likely to end with Ukraine winning. Rather larger, about a third roughly, think Ukraine and Russia reaching a compromise settlement. But then you ask the question, how should the war end? And there are very significant differences. The largest group who say Europe should support Ukraine in fighting back, in winning back the territories occupied by Russia, is Sweden, 50%. But then it goes down, Portugal, Poland, 47% going on down, Hungary only 16%, surprise, surprise. But very large groups, not just in Hungary and Greece, but Italy, Romania, Austria, even Germany, say, if it was up to me, Europe should push Ukraine towards negotiating a peace deal with Russia. As a very strongly formulated one, should push Ukraine towards negotiating a peace deal with Russia. So that's what you're up against.